is the fifth workshop in the CDTC New Visions Public Workshop Series. I am Jen Saponis from the Capital District Transportation Committee. We also have Mike Franchini, our Executive Director, and Sandy Misowitz, who are here and will be monitoring the chat box and may jump in to clarify or answer questions as they may come up. Today's presentation does include live polling. To participate in the polling, you can either open a new browser window or use the text message function from your phone. There will be detailed instructions on how to participate later in the presentation. If, as we go through the presentation, questions or comments come up, please type them into the chat or use the Q&A function, and we'll do our best to answer and address them at the end. Okay, so we'll get started. What is New Visions 2050? New Visions is the long-range transportation plan for the capital region. This is a product that the Federal Highway Administration requires MPOs to develop every 5 to 10 years. CDTC's New Visions is a 30-year plan or a blueprint for a regional transportation system that reflects a shared vision for the future. The purpose of it is to guide prioritization of transportation projects and investments. It's developed collaboratively with input from various agencies, organizations, institutions in the region, as well as our local governments and the public. If you're not familiar with CDTC, we are a Metropolitan Planning Organization, or MPO, for the Albany, Schenectady, and Saratoga Springs urban areas. The CDTC is a transportation policy making and planning organization that works with a number of stakeholders in the region to allocate federal transportation funds for road, bridge, sidewalk, traffic, signal, trails, and other types of projects. The MPO includes the state DOT, CDTA, our regional planning commission, the airport, the Port of Albany, the Thruway, as well as the 4 counties, and our 8 cities and a rotating number of towns and villages. CDTC's area includes these 4 counties, Albany, Rensselaer, Saratoga, and Schenectady, but it excludes the northeast corner of Saratoga County, which is the town of Monroe and South Glens Falls. So what is in the New Visions plan? This includes a number of documents that have all been produced by CDTC staff with input from various advisory committees, stakeholders, and others. There is an executive summary, which we encourage you to read for an overview of the plan and its main policy and investment principle recommendations. There's also a systems performance report, a public participation plan, 11 technical area papers from transit to operations to freight, a financial plan, and a glossary and maps packet. These can all be found on the CDTC New Visions webpage. You can either go to our homepage and you'll find a box that shows this, or you can go directly to cdtcmpo.org/NV2050. So what kind of projects have happened in the region because of previous long-range plans? There have been about 7 long-range plans developed for the capital region's transportation system. As needs and resources have changed, so has our vision for what kind of network and choices and infrastructure we need. Previous New Visions plans laid the groundwork for major projects like CDTA's Bus Rapid Transit System, a number of regional trails, the Rexford Bridge and Roundabout Project, the Erie Boulevard reconstruction, and even the recent 787 and Hudson River Corridor study. Transportation costs are increasing faster than available funding. CDTC's multimodal approach prioritizes projects that address multiple needs. For example, a road diet or project that reduces the number of lanes can improve safety for drivers, people crossing the street, and people bicycling on the street. It can also move traffic more efficiently and reliably while improving the look and feel of a corridor, which can benefit businesses there. The New Visions financial plan estimates that it will cost about $775 million each year between now and 2050 to continue to construct and maintain the system we need. This is an increase from the $454 million that it currently costs us each year to maintain the system. This is approximately $530 per person, and this includes all funding sources that go into transportation projects in the region, local budgets, state, county, federal, and other. So public input plays an essential role in the development and support for this long-range plan. What do you think is important for the region to invest in? Transportation funding can be used to address a variety of needs. Transportation affects everyone. We need good roads and bridges to drive on, reliable buses to ride on, and more sidewalks, trails, and bike lanes to walk or bike to access local amenities and provide affordable transportation options for everyone. While some funding sources are restricted to specific types of projects, the majority of funding can be used on all of the types of projects shown here. New Visions 2050 lays out principles for continuing to develop a multimodal system that acknowledges all the ways the transportation system impacts your daily life. Historically, there has been regional consensus for many of these strategies and principles. Your participation in this meeting is important to CDTC to understand if we're still on the right track. So New Visions 2050 has been in the making since last summer. We released a draft in early March for public review. We had a series of public meetings and events scheduled and planned. And as you can see, we did have 2 separate public involvement phases planned. However, COVID-19 made us adjust our strategy for public participation and shift to continuous outreach through September. And as mentioned earlier, this is our 5th workshop in our online public engagement series, and we will be adding a number of other types of opportunities for the public to get involved. And most of our public input strategies have been moved to our website, and we'll discuss them later. So our goal at CDTC is to create tools and opportunities that can be used by all segments of the region's population. Today's workshop does require you to be an active participant. If you feel more comfortable just observing and listening, that is fine though. So again, please, if you're comfortable, we do encourage you to participate in the live polling. You can leave comments or questions in the chat or the Q&A, and we will get to them later. So your perspective on how the transportation affects your daily life is important. So to participate today, if you are going to use a new web browser window, you want to go to pollev.com and then enter CDTC NV 2050, or you can go directly to pollev.com/CDTC NV 2050 and you will activate the poll. Please do not answer any questions yet. If you are using your phone, you can text CDTC NV 2050 to 22333. You put the 22333 where you would put the phone number, and CDTC NV 2050 is the text, and you should receive an automatic text response that activates the poll. So we'll give people a moment to activate their poll or decide how they'd like to participate. In the meantime, we are going to start with an icebreaker. There are no wrong answers. Your name is not attached to your answers. It's anonymous, so please do not be afraid to submit your answer. So to start, we're going to do an icebreaker question. What do you like best about living in the capital region? You can respond more than once. Please submit 1 or 2 words at a time. And the answer should appear on the screen. Give people a couple more seconds to respond and activate their poll. Okay. So this is a snapshot or an overview of the capital region. We're a unique multinodal region with 8 cities and a number of towns and villages connected by a series of highways and arterials, but we're also connected by an economy and a shared sense of place and culture. There are very diverse communities, from vibrant urban centers to rural agriculture lands and villages with attractive destinations and recreational opportunities. We're the home of a state capital and enjoy a fairly stable economy bolstered by the large state government workforce, as well as a number of medical and university institutions. Despite these advantages, we have experienced relatively little population growth. While there has been development, this hasn't been driven by the population growth, so a lot of this development pattern increases the amount of driving in the region. The existing road and bridge network has a replacement value exceeding $30 billion, and many facilities will reach their useful life before 2050. If you use the bus, drive, walk, or bike, you rely on this network of roads and bridges, and maintaining them is the region's highest priority. And while the population ages and demographics, needs, and preferences change, the system needs to adapt to keep us all moving. Please tell us what mode you use to commute to work or school. If you use more than one, depending on the weather, the season, or just your circumstances that day, you can submit more than one answer. Okay. And if you could tell us what mode you use for other trips, non-commute trips, this might include the grocery store, library, farmer's market, or medical appointments. And again, if you use more than one, you can submit more than one answer. Okay. So while transportation costs have increased and available resources haven't, a number of innovative strategies have been employed to deliver access to more transportation choices than ever before. Just 5 years ago, we didn't have Uber, Lyft, or shared mobility like CDPHP cycle. These new services, plus ride matching, van pool, and weekend trolleys, have helped close gaps in the transportation network and attracted new activity to our cities. But there's still work to be done. Are there modes or services currently not available to you for commute and non-commute trips that you hope become available? Again, you can check all that apply or submit all that apply. Okay, so Quality region is a term that we use at CDTC in explaining our vision for the future. We mean a high quality of life, the ability to access destinations affordably and efficiently, flexible and resilient enough to serve the mobility needs of everyone at any stage of life in emergencies and changing circumstances, the freedom to move safely, and equitable distribution of benefits. What does quality region mean to you? Again, you can submit 1 or 2 words, and you can submit more than once, and it's a word cloud, so your answer should pop up on the screen. Okay. So an exercise we did in developing new visions is called scenario planning. CDTC identified 4 potential futures based on trends and data and estimated the impact of each potential future on quality of life. These 4 scenarios include the status quo, sprawl development, concentrated development, and concentrated development with financial incentives. So here's an overview of how each scenario would impact the quality of life in the capital region. And this was estimated through modeling and other projections using data and trends that we collect and monitor here at CDTC. So not shown here is status quo, but that is an option, and that would mean more of the same in terms of development patterns and transportation choices. The left-hand column is sprawl development, or more dispersed development, which would increase driving in the region, mean less open space or preservation of agriculture, and less opportunities to provide transportation choices. The middle column is concentrated development, which would protect more open space in agriculture, create more opportunities for walking and access to other modes, and reduce driving. The right-hand column is concentrated development with financial incentives. So if there were financial incentives to not drive, like user fees, higher parking fees, etc., we could see even less driving, more concentrated development, and more opportunities for transit and walking and bicycling. These also consider the deployment of automated vehicles and how this technology might affect our lives. Depending on what the transportation system and land use look like, we don't know if or when this technology will be available, but we're already seeing some applications of it in the system. So we don't want driverless cars driving back and forth empty, creating congestion. We want them to serve specific purposes or be as efficient as possible and not dictate how the transportation system or land use look like, but allow the transportation system to dictate what the most efficient use for them are. Which scenario do you feel supports a quality region from your perspective? Okay. On this next slide, we show the New Vision's 15 planning and investment principles. These are really the centerpiece to the long-range plan. They're directly related to the criteria used to evaluate and prioritize transportation investments. They also influence the types of studies and programs CDTC supports, and they feed into the major policy recommendations in the plan. These major policy recommendations and themes in the plan are maintaining a state of good repair, congestion management, complete streets, smart land use or transit-oriented development or smart growth, access management, safe systems and Vision Zero policies, Americans with Disabilities Act compliance, and public participation. So what do we mean by maintaining a state of good repair? Funding should be prioritized for maintaining existing infrastructure. The more roads and bridges we build, the more funds required to maintain them down the road. Keeping the system in good condition benefits all modes and all users of the system. Do you agree with this policy? Okay, managing congestion or not building new capacity is related to maintaining what we have. CDTC has maintained a strong policy against adding new lanes to major highways and interstates. Issues of congestion can be resolved through technology, expansion of transportation choices, and other innovative strategies. Adding more capacity is costly and can encourage more disconnected development and types of land uses that increase driving. Do you agree with this policy? Okay, the next policy is planning and implementing complete streets. This means designing all streets to accommodate and provide safety for all users. These types of streets can be implemented during repaving with low-cost solutions like simple paint. Do you agree with this policy? The next policy theme is safety. The adoption of safe systems policies at their heart means designing roads for safety over speed. It recognizes a shared responsibility for safety on the road, but also that we're vulnerable and can make errors. But if the road is designed for safety, we can reduce crashes, reduce injuries, and eliminate deaths from traffic crashes. Do you agree with this policy? The next policy themes related to land use. Encouraging smart land use planning means promoting mixing land uses and integrating land use with the existing transportation system. This is a fiscally responsible development and land use strategy that can attract new investment and new business opportunities while not increasing the cost of maintaining the region's infrastructure. Do you agree with this policy? So the next series of slides is a visioning exercise. We want you to envision life in 2050. Put yourself in the shoes of the people in these 4 separate visions. We developed each vision based on the principles and policy recommendations put forth in the long-range plan. If New Visions is successfully implemented, these visions should be realistic. We're looking for you to tell us what you like about each of them. For the first vision, Dwayne just relocated to the Capital District. He got a job as a nurse at the local hospital and is looking to purchase a home for the first time. He wants to find a neighborhood where he can bike to work when the weather is nice. Dwayne drives an electric plug-in vehicle and knows that if he doesn't find a home with a driveway, he'll need to rely on public charging infrastructure close by. Having a place to plug in at work is important too. He's committed to eliminating emissions from his commute. Dwayne also wants to live in a neighborhood close to restaurants and businesses where he can meet up with friends after work and on the weekends. What do you like about this vision? Again, you can pick more than one thing. In the next vision, Lucy and Ray are lifelong residents of the Capital Region and preparing for retirement. They both worked for the state and spent years commuting to Empire State Plaza and the state office campus from their home in Colony. Ray can tell you about years driving Central Avenue to and from work and the traffic lights had always tied him up. But these problems seem long ago now. While more development has occurred throughout the corridor, traffic moves better since they upgraded the traffic signals with smart technology. Sometimes Ray avoids traffic entirely and saves money on gas and parking fees because he can take Bus Plus. He can't believe there's a lane just for buses now and loves how quickly he can get downtown. Ray and Lucy are looking forward to not having to commute every day, but are worried about how they'll afford 2 vehicles on a fixed income. Lucy wants Ray to sell his car. She thinks they can get by on just one, even though they both plan on filling their time in retirement, helping with their grandkids, volunteering at the local community center, and keeping up with their exercise classes. Lucy doesn't mind hailing a ride with her smartphone if she needs to. And if they decide they no longer want to maintain their house, Ray and Lucy know they have a range of affordable housing options for seniors close by. They're confident they can continue to live independently and stay in close contact with friends and family throughout the region. They feel lucky to live in a vibrant place. So what do you like about this vision? Okay. In the next vision, John and Edie sold their construction business nearly 15 years ago and have been living happily in retirement. They're glad to be able to stay in their home on several acres where they live with their dogs and other animals. Their daughter and her family live nearby and come and help out around the house often. Edie loves that their granddaughter, Elsie, can use the new rail trail to walk or bike to her school with her friends. Edie jokes with Elsie about the old days when she had to drive everyone all over creation for school and soccer and playdates. Edie is planning an overnight trip with her daughter, but realizes it conflicts with one of John's doctor appointments in the city, 30 minutes away. John can't drive anymore, but Edie remembers that John can request a ride by calling or scheduling a ride through a smartphone app. Elsie reminds her grandpa how to use the app. Edie and John are grateful for the new rural transportation services available to seniors like her and John so that they can stay in their home that they love. What do you like about this vision? Okay, there's one more. This is our final vision. Chad, Siobhan, and their 3 children are a busy family. Both Chad and Siobhan work outside of their home, and all 3 kids are involved in extracurricular activities. Chad often works long hours, so Siobhan is primarily responsible for managing the kids' after-school schedules. This means driving straight from work to the soccer field, swim practice, or piano lessons almost every day of the week. Siobhan is glad that she can drive her kids everywhere they need to go and plan trips ahead with all of the real-time traffic information that's easily accessible from her car's GPS, her smartphone, and the new electronic message signs on most of the region's roadways. She's able to get across the county from piano lessons to soccer practice in less than 20 minutes, and without being delayed by congestion or other issues because of improved incident management. The family's looking forward to their beach vacation next week. It's rare that they all get to spend time together. Getting to and from the airport will be no problem because they have direct access and they know they will easily be able to find parking and their terminal. They enjoy a high quality of life because of investments in the region's highway infrastructure. What about this vision do you like? Okay. So another activity we've asked the public to do is to take our funding poll. We've set up an interactive poll on the New Visions webpage on our website. So if you go to cdtcmpo.org/NV2050, there's a button that will take you to it. There, you'll be given a hypothetical $100 and asked to spend it. So if you could do that after today's workshop or in another browser window, that would be great. Also on the New Visions webpage are links to other virtual feedback and participation opportunities. We encourage you to visit the page to download the individual documents or to see the other ways you can get involved and provide comments. Today's last poll asks how you heard about today's workshop. Our goal at CDTC is to support a thorough, inclusive, creative, and continuous public participation process. We'll continue to explore new strategies and tools for public engagement, but need your feedback on how we're doing and suggestions for how we could do better. We also ask that you tell a friend about New Visions. This is the last scheduled New Visions public workshop, but there will be other webinars and virtual presentations on different New Visions topics in the near future. And we're also creating opportunities for people to give feedback through social media. Right now, we're doing the Photo Voices campaign using the hashtag NV2050. asking people to take photos of how the transportation system impacts their life, looking for something good, something bad, and maybe something surprising. So again, people can, if they're on social media, they can share their photos on Instagram, Twitter, or Facebook, use those hashtags, tag us. We'd love to see them and compile them as input. So what's next for New Visions? The final plan is scheduled to be approved by our policy board this September, as well as our public transportation agency safety plan. However, current circumstances have required more planned future updates and amendments to New Visions. So we do see this as a living document, which we intend to update as we need to. There are specific things that we are planning on updating in the future related to transit and resiliency. Also, larger regional planning initiatives, for example, the 2019 Capital District Trails Plan. When they're adopted, they become part of the long-range transportation plan, so any regional study or project can also become part of the regional plan. And we continue to do public engagement and education related to different New Visions topics and themes. New Visions is implemented through our Unified Planning Work Program, which is all of the planning initiatives and tasks that CDTC supports. Capital investments and projects are also evaluated based on criteria laid out in New Visions 2050. So New Visions is implemented through what types of projects, transportation projects, are funded. Linkage studies and other CDTC sponsored planning tasks are based on the New Visions planning and investment principles. The next update is anticipated in 2025. Historically, we've done minor updates every 5 years and major updates every 10. Due to the rapid evolution of technology and other trends, we have been doing more significant updates more rapidly. So we do anticipate another update in 2025. So now if we have any questions or comments in the Q&A or the chat box, we would be happy to answer them. Sandy and Mike, have you seen any comments or questions in the chat box?
Jen, we had a couple of comments in the chat box
Okay.
early on, but nothing right now.
Okay. We'll give people a couple minutes to submit if they'd like.
So Jen, there's one question in the chat pod. What efforts are underway to connect with other transportation systems outside of CDTC?
That's a really good question. We do coordinate with other transportation planning organizations outside of our region when appropriate, and we do consider those other systems and how they connect. And since we have a close relationship with the State Department of Transportation and their region that overlaps with our region is actually larger. So we are able to coordinate as best possible and work with those other stakeholders and systems. And we also, of course, are always looking at and coordinating with services like Amtrak and bus and other modes.
Jen, we have another question in the chat box. For the scenarios CDTC proposes, is there for urban, rural, and suburban, are there different scenarios for the entire region?
So those are for the entire region, and they are in the context of any new development, if that makes sense.
I don't see any other questions or comments coming in, Jen.
Okay. If there are no more questions or comments right now in the chat, you can email your comments to newvisions@cdtcmpo.org. We also have a virtual voicemail box that you can text your comment or leave a voicemail with your comment at 518-618-2498. Of course, you can send us mail. You could also call our office. Our office is now open Monday through Thursday, so there's someone in the office and someone will get back to you. If you're on social media, you can connect with us on Facebook, on Twitter, and on Instagram. We also have a YouTube channel where we've maintained the channel for a while, and you can find bicycle safety and other videos. But lately also we are streaming our public meetings there, so you can go back and watch some previous meetings we've had, or follow us there, subscribe to our channel to get updates on new meetings. So if there are no more comments or questions, thank you for attending today, and we hope that you will follow us, engage with us, come to a meeting, hopefully when we can safely do that in person, and stay engaged in transportation planning in the region. So thank you.